And staying with our top focus on the multilateral summits taking place in Jakarta, in Indonesia. Before that, we break down live to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to the leaders of ASEAN nations at the 20th ASEAN-India Summit. Prime Minister Modi acknowledged that ASEAN matters because everyone's voice is heard.
Right. He also spoke about this. And to discuss this further, we're being joined by veteran journalist Dave Grunbaum, live from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, sir.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Now, my first question to you, what's your assessment of the India-ASEAN ties going forward?
I mean, look, obviously these two regions clearly depend on each other, look to each other. India obviously is a rising power in the world. It's a middle power, and people see its power rising. But clearly, India has not had the same kind of connections to a lot of countries in this region that China has. And obviously, with tensions building between India and China, and these countries, and ASEAN countries being particularly Indonesia, a middle power, how can India look to strengthen its ties in this region? Obviously, everybody talks about China and the U.S. and their fight for more influence in this region. But what ways can India gain ground in that region really remains to be seen.
Absolutely, Dave. Also, like the bloc's inability to resolve crucial issues in the region has led many to question ASEAN's value and relevance in today's time. How optimistic are you that the bloc will prove its worth now that the summit has kicked off in Jakarta?
Yeah, when it comes to the Myanmar crisis and the civil war going on in Myanmar after the coup that took place 2.5 years ago, ASEAN has proved impotent so far. There have been some real concerted efforts by certain members of ASEAN, I should say, particularly the Indonesian foreign minister, to try to gain some traction, to try to get the violence to tamp down to some degree, but it has not worked at all. We've seen violence gone up, violence against civilians, violence across the country. Neither side is going to back down. But the reason for all of this, you really got to lay the blame on the generals in Myanmar for staging this coup, and they're just completely entrenched. They're not going to change their ways. They look like just juntas of the past in Myanmar. They look the same. ASEAN has not been able to get anything accomplished here. We should bring out Yang Lee, the former UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Myanmar. She has basically said that ASEAN should just admit that it can't get the job done and that it's time for the United Nations Security Council to stop trying to pass the buck to ASEAN and to step in itself and do something. That certainly seems worth a try, given ASEAN's got nothing accomplished so far. But with the UN Security Council, particularly with China and Russia having veto power over anything getting done there, would anything get accomplished with the Security Council? I don't know.
All right. Oh, well, also just to understand this better, what are your expectations when it comes to the 18th East Asia Summit?
Yeah, so when you look at that here, you've got some of the same conflicts that are going on, but then add more to it. Particularly, let's look here at what's going on between China and Japan now. China has banned seafood imports from Japan because Japan has released treated wastewater from Fukushima into the sea. It has met international standards of this water that has been treated and released into the sea. But China is staying firm that they're going to ban these seafood imports. And we've seen rising tensions against the Japanese in China. The leaders have met. We've seen the premier from China and the prime minister from Japan have met and talked. We haven't seen any progress on that front between the two, but maybe with some hope over time, we can see some progress on that front. Then also, of course, there's concerns about the possibility of North Korea perhaps down the road give weapons to Russia to use against Ukraine. Again, just adding more tensions to all of this. Are we going to see any progress on that front? I really don't know.
All right. Dave Grunbaum, thank you so much for joining us on the show with your insights on this.